Hey, I got your back. Don't worry, I got you. Simple words, right? Maybe you've said them to someone. Maybe you've longed to hear them yourself. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about the impact that those simple words can really have, because I've watched them make a profound impact for someone I love. And by the end of this episode, I think you're going to see that I've got your back is not just a feeling you hand somebody, it's something that you really do. And it might be one of the most powerful things you do as a leader all year. Welcome to This Leader, where we explore the transformational high-impact strategies and secrets that turn everyday people into great leaders. I'm your host, Claire Laughlin, and I'm so glad you're here. Picture this. You're new to the company, newish anyway. You've been there long enough to know your job, right? But not long enough to know all of those unwritten rules. You know, the how we actually do things around here ones. And today, you're out at a client site by yourself. There's no teammate next to you, no manager down the hall, just you and your skills and a problem to solve. You want to do good work. You want to be a really good employee and a good practitioner of your craft. Because to you, those are the same thing. You take pride in doing good work and making your customers happy. And then you hit a wall. You realize that the parts that you're on site to install are wrong. This is a computer project, and the RAM that got ordered for this job, it's not right. And here's the thing. You didn't actually order the parts. Another team inside your company ordered the part, but you're the one standing here in front of the client holding the bag. So now you've got that feeling in your gut. You know the one? Because you can see exactly what's about to happen. The client is going to feel left down. I mean, you're there to fix the problem, but you have the wrong part. And your instinct, your gut, is telling you, okay, tell them, be straight with the client. Say, hey, this isn't right, and it's probably not going to work. Right? I mean, wouldn't you do that? Feels like good service. It feels like integrity. And it feels like the right thing to do. So anyway, you call your company, you reach the other team, that's the team that ordered the parts, and you say, hey, this RAM isn't right. And they say, okay, don't worry, but don't say anything to the client, just leave it. Okay, so now you're standing in the middle of two truths. Your gut says one thing, but a more senior team member who's been with the company a lot longer says something else. And you're new. So you swallow it. You go against your better judgment because, I mean, who are you to overrule the people who've been here longer, like your senior leaders, right? So you finish the job, you say nothing, and no surprise to you, the solution doesn't work. So the client calls your company, upset, of course, and here's the gut punch. Your company actually had ordered the right part by then, and you're already scheduled to go back to that client and install it. But because nobody communicated, because you'd gone quiet against your own instincts, it looks bad all the way around. It looks like bad service, plain and simple. Honestly, it just makes you look like you don't know what you were doing all along. And now the client has less confidence in your abilities. Okay? This is a sticky situation, and then it gets worse. So in a meeting, one of your senior leaders, it's actually your manager's manager, calls it out, kind of publicly. Like, what happened here? This isn't good service. This isn't how we do things. You know, we don't we don't install the wrong part. That's not the way we do things. And you, being the person, you know, whose face is on this problem, you apologize. You feel uncomfortable. But in that meeting, you don't share the whole story because you don't want to throw the other team under the bus and you don't want to throw the blame game around. So you figure maybe there's something you didn't understand about the whole picture. And honestly, again, you're new, you're exposed, you're just not sure how you're supposed to navigate these situations. So you just absorb it. Now, let me pull us out of that story just for a second. I know that was a long story, but I told you it was about someone I loved, and it is. It's about my son. He's early in his career. He's in a tech support role, and this whole scene, this actually happened to him. But I didn't tell you this story because it's about, a 25-year-old figuring out his first real job. This isn't actually his first real job, but it's not about that. I told you this story because when he shared it with me, I was really struck by how I think it's about all of us as leaders. It's about all of us. I mean, think about it. Remember that feeling of like, wait, what do I do here? How do I do the right thing? What if I make a mistake? You know, those feelings, when was the last time you felt that? I bet it wasn't as long ago as you'd like to admit, really, right? Because here's what nobody tells you about growth. We don't graduate once and for all from that feeling. If we're growing and we're stretching ourselves, we keep meeting that feeling over and over at higher and higher altitudes. Every transition brings it back. Every new role, every new manager that steps in above you that you haven't worked with before, and you suddenly don't know the rules again. Every new team you get deployed to. Remember that feeling? That exposed, kind of vulnerable, okay, what if I get this wrong feeling? Hey, maybe for you it's fleeting, but it's not a beginner's problem. It's a human problem. It comes up at 25 and at 40 and at 55. And every time we stretch into something new, we can easily get caught right back in those feelings, in a sense, right? Not exactly sure how to proceed, want to do the right thing, want to meet the new expectations, but they're a little fuzzy. So, when I tell you this story, I want you to hold two things at once. I want you to think about it from your perspective as a leader. How would I handle one of my people in this spot? You've deployed someone to go solve a problem, and as they do it, they're stuck. They don't know how to proceed. Okay? Maybe they get some not so good advice from somebody else. Okay? I know I can think of lots of situations where that might happen. Think about that just through your own filter. I got a person out there, they're struggling, they're in this position. How would I handle one of my people there? Okay. But I don't want you to forget. I want you to feel it as the person who's been in those shoes, because I'm sure you have. We all have. And if it was quite some time ago, it's possible that you forget a little bit how vulnerable it feels. So hold those feelings. We're going to go back to the story here because this is where it turns around. So a little while later, my son sits down with his direct manager. This is a pretty new relationship. They don't know each other that well. There's not a lot of history there. There's no, deeply established track record. There's not a whole lot of years of trust banked up. This is pretty new. And my son decides to tell his manager his side of the story. And he says essentially, okay, so here's actually what happened. Here's what my gut told me to do, and I didn't do it because this other team asked me not to, and I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. It didn't sit right with me, and I want to know, what should I do next time that happens? And his manager looks at him and says, don't worry. I've got your back. You had good instincts on this. I got you. Okay? And then, this is the part I really want you to hear, he didn't stop there. He picked up the phone and he started making some calls. He went up the chain. He made sure his own manager understood the actual order of events, what really happened, why my son went quiet, and the fact that my son's instincts had been right the whole time. He wanted to tell the client what had happened. So the manager corrected the record. He put a little bit of his own reputation on the line to do it. And boy, that felt really good for my son. So now he feels a little bit more at ease. Now he walks into that job knowing somebody's got his back. And you know what that means? That means next time he gets that gut feeling at a client site, he's going to trust it. He's going to speak up and he's going to give better service. One sentence, that manager said, one set of phone calls, and a completely different employee walks out the other side. Let's just kind of debrief what happened there, what really happened, because it's bigger than that nice moment between a manager and a new hire. When the manager said, you had good instincts, and then he backed it up with action, he did something really quite profound. He handed my son his judgment back. So think about it. Step in his shoes for a minute. Think about what my son had been learning up to that point. He'd learned, don't trust your gut. Defer to the people who've been here longer. Go quiet. Protect yourself. Okay? That is a corrosive lesson. And he was absorbing that in real time. That's what he was experiencing. And in one conversation, his manager reversed it. He said, in effect, your judgment is good, trust it, and I will stand between you and the risk while you learn to use it. Okay? That's what being backed does. It doesn't just make you feel warm and fuzzy. It returns your judgment to you. It tells you that you're safe enough to bring your full self, your instincts, your honesty, your initiative, and even your mistakes to the work. So here's the contrast I really want to call out here. What if his manager had stayed silent? Or what if he just said something like, well, you should have spoken up, lesson learned, and he left my son holding the bag? You know, same employee, different future. He would have learned, keep your head down, don't trust yourself, cover your tail, and the next time he had a good instinct, he might just swallow it. Or he might start to disengage just a little. And here's the thing about that. These patterns don't stay contained to one person. We all know that. Imagine a whole team where everybody has quietly learned to keep their heads down, right? To not speak up when they see something that's not right. When nobody trusts their gut, when nobody speaks up, everybody covers themselves first. I mean, you probably don't even have to imagine that. Actually, you've probably worked somewhere like that. Most of us have. That's the ripple effect. It's one leader's choice to back someone or not. And it doesn't end with that person. It touches everyone watching because it teaches them what's safe and what's not. And those lessons compound into culture. Now, some of you are thinking, oh, yeah, Claire, this is psychological safety. And you're right. This is exactly the soil that psychological safety grows in. People feeling safe enough to speak up, to take risks, and to be honest about mistakes with ownership without fear of being punished or humiliated. I'm not going to go back and unpack all of that psychological safety stuff today because you'll remember my friend Janet Williams and I went deep on that in our episode on psychological safety just a few episodes ago. So if this is lighting you up, go back and listen to that one. It's a perfect companion to today. But for today, I want you to hold that simple version. When you back your people, when you really stand up for them, you're not just being kind. You're building the conditions where good work and honesty and real good judgment and decision-making can flourish. Let's take a pause here for a minute because I got a question. It's been nagging at me ever since my son told me his story. How did his manager know? How did he know that those simple words, I got your back, right, said in exactly that way at exactly that moment, was going to be probably one of the most powerful things he could possibly say that day, right? How did he know to validate the instinct and not just smooth over the feelings? How did he know to pick up the phone and do something instead of just offering reassurance? Was that part of a training program he went through? Or was that sort of just unique to him as a human being? Is it something that's baked into how the whole company develops its leaders? I don't know. But here's what I do know. That kind of leadership instinct isn't just an accident, and it certainly isn't evenly distributed. In most organizations, people get promoted into supervisory roles, and they serve as supervisors or managers for years before anyone gives them a real solid foundation in what it actually means to lead people, to handle those situations and those nuances. We hand someone a title and a team, and we just, I don't know, hope for the best most of the time with minimal support. And that is exactly the problem that Evolve was built to solve. Evolve gives your leaders a solid shared foundation, a common language and a common approach to leadership so that I've got your back isn't just a lucky personality trait in one good manager. It's how everyone leads. Because making sure your leaders share an approach to leadership, that is foundational if you're looking to build a positive, engaging culture. It's not a nice to have, it's the bedrock. So here's what I want you to consider. If you want an organizational culture where people thrive and they are highly engaged, bring your leaders to Evolve. And here's the part that makes the real difference. We don't just hand them the content and walk away. We support your leaders with facilitated conversations that deepen the learning and turn into real organizational change, right? The kind that sticks. So if you've ever looked at one great manager and thought, gosh, I wish all my managers led like that, that is what this program is for. That is what this program makes easy. You can learn more at clairelaughlin.com/evolve, or by all means, reach out to me and let's just have a conversation and let's see if this program is the right fit for your organization or your team. I'll put the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the program. All right, I want to come back to that story one more time because there's something happening underneath it that we haven't named yet. And once you see it, it's going to really resonate. So remember my son's gut instinct, that feeling that he had of, wow, we really need to be straight with this client or we're going to damage the relationship? That wasn't just integrity, and that wasn't him just being a nice, honest kid, though I must say he is, okay? That was business acumen in its earliest, rawest form. He didn't have the tenure. He didn't have the org chart memorized. He didn't know all the unwritten rules. But he could look at a messy situation and he could feel what actually served the business. You know, the client relationship, the company's reputation, the long game, even while the pressure in the room was pushing him the other way. That's acumen, and it starts as instinct. And here's the beautiful part. When his manager said, like, you had good instincts, he, again, wasn't just being supportive. He was naming sort of a shade of business acumen and calibrating it in real time. He was basically saying, hey, that gut feeling, trust it. Here's why you were right. And ultimately, that's how we build something like business acumen. That's how it really develops in a person. It doesn't come from a binder. It doesn't come from a sheet of paper that tells you what it is or how to do it. It comes from a trusted leader who helps you connect your instincts to real-time situations and outcomes, which means that having someone's back isn't only protective, it's developmental. It's the very act of backing up my son is the same as growing and developing his sense of judgment. So I'm not going to go further down this road today because honestly, business acumen deserves its own episode. I mean, we hear that a lot, right? Develop your business acumen, like we all know what it means. And I don't think most people actually can define it. So we're going to explore that one together. Seems like a great topic, so stay tuned. We'll tackle that one soon. Okay, before we wrap for today, I want to unpack a little bit more about what that manager actually did. When he said, I've got your back, it's important. And I do this because I really want you to be able to replicate this with your employees. Like, think about it. Just think about an employee who has great instincts and you're looking to develop those instincts, but it's hard. Okay, first, when a situation comes up where the person is using their judgment, assume positive intent, even or maybe especially before you have some solid track record to lean on. I mean, really, that's when it matters most is before the track record, right? So look for those situations. Remember, in my son's story, that relationship with his manager is kind of a new relationship. And the manager had every reason to play it safe, really, and assume that my son had just messed up, right? But instead, he started from the belief that his employee was acting in good faith. So when someone is new, you don't have history to lean on, so you have to extend trust before it's earned. That is a choice, and it's a leadership choice, and I want you to make it on purpose, okay? Second, validate the judgment, not just the feelings. It's the judgment that you're trying to develop. It's easy to say, don't worry about it, or you'll get it next time, right? And that can soothe the feeling, but it misses the real transformational lesson. What his manager did was different. He said, you had good instincts, right? He affirmed the judgment itself. He told my son that his read on the situation was trustworthy. That's what gives a person the confidence to act on their instincts next time, right? Reinforce their ability to listen to their gut and pay attention. Soothe the feeling if you need to, for sure, but validate the judgment when you see good judgment. And third, take visible action. Do it in a way that the employee can see it. This is the real difference between the slogan and the substance. His manager didn't just say the words, I got your back and move on. He picked up the phone. He corrected the record. He risked a little of his own reputation to set things right. Backing someone, that's a verb, and it might cost you something. A little time, or I don't know, a little political capital, a little discomfort, who knows? Pay it. Pay that price. And let your employees see you pay it. Because the seeing is half of what makes them feel so supported and safe. Like, think about it. When someone has your back and they say it and they mean it and they show it, it's quite a good feeling. So assume positive intent, validate the judgment, and take visible action. That's it. That's the I've got your back translated from a feeling into a developmental practice. So here's what I want you to do this week. Find one person on your team who's standing in my son's shoes right now, right? Could be someone new or someone who's stretching or someone who took a risk that didn't land perfectly. And go give them their judgment back. Tell them their instincts are good. And then do something visible that proves that you mean it. And if today's episode got you thinking about the leaders in your organization and whether they share that solid foundation that you really want them to share, just go take a look at Evolve at clairelaughlin.com/evolve, or by all means, reach out to me. You can schedule a consultation easily from my website and we'll talk it over. No pressure. Thanks for being here with me. I love that we get to do this together. As always, share this with a friend, and this might be a good time to go back and listen to some past episodes you've missed. Okay, so I just want to encourage you to take a deeper dive and share with a friend. And until next week, go lead the way.